trying to beat the rain.
Good luck.
Evan, how you doing tonight?
She did sign in, so she's planning on speaking. It's a quiet group this evening.
It's too heated, rain.
Absolutely not. What day works? I work for you also. That's exactly what I think. You don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I have 6:30.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call tonight's meeting to order. I'd like to welcome our guests tonight.
What's that?
And if you
Oh,
want to
okay.
call
I'm gonna watch anything.
Mr. Matt Seal,
Here.
Mr. Steve Donahue,
Here.
Mr. Kevin Meadows,
Here.
Mr. Hubert Allen,
Here.
Mr. Steve Rosen,
Here.
Mr. Harry Donahue,
Here.
Mr. William Clifford.
Here.
Okay. Maybe we get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Matt Seal,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Kevin Meadows,
Yes.
Mr. Hubert Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Rosen,
Yes.
Mr. Harry Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. William Clifford.
Yes.
And we have a request to set a public hearing.
Yes, sir. Tonight for you, I have a request to set conditional use permit 2402 for the Cumberland Fire and Emergency Services radio tower. We're asking to set this for the public hearing at your next regular meeting on August 18th.
May we have a motion to set a public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we set a public hearing for CUP 24-02, Cumberland Fire and Emergency Services Radio Tower, to be held on 18 August.
Second.
So you had a second over there? Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Mr. Matt Seal,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Kevin Meadows,
Yes.
Mr. Hubert Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Rosen,
Yes.
Mr. Harry Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. William Clifford.
Yes.
Okay, and we'll move to old business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under old business, the first item, I have been keeping the first two items on your agenda just to have there as a reminder in case things come up, but I do not have an update currently for potential code amendments or the solar update. The next item is the subdivision entrance discussion. This is a follow-up from your last regular meeting. I did send an email to the commission with the detailed information on the shared accesses and the private road maintenance agreements, as well as a copy of each of those documents to you. I figure we just go over it, and that way if you guys have any questions, we can address those tonight. So a driveway will serve only a single lot, and then a shared entrance will only serve 2, and then 3 or more are considered a road, whether that's public or private. If we have a driveway or shared entrance that has 2 lots, then there's a shared access easement agreement that is to be recorded at the time of the subdivision in order to establish who's responsible for the maintaining of that shared access. If it's a road, whether it's private or well, if it's private, I apologize, we do have a road maintenance agreement that would be recorded along with the survey. And that would state, who's responsible. Each of the property owners are equally responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the road. They can set limitations on what types of vehicles can, like if they want to have vehicles parked on the easement, or make sure that they keep it free of all obstructions. We do have the template, which is what I provided to you guys, but the attorneys are able to revise that agreement for their specific developments if needed. Did you guys have any questions about the?
On a 50-foot width of that, that starts at the county road or state road.
Yes, sir.
Suppose there's utilities there,
Mhm.
they have to be new, and who's going to pay for that?
So at the time of the development, generally speaking, there's nothing there currently. If there is an existing driveway, then the 50-foot easement can be placed wherever it needs to be on that property in order to serve as access. So they could include in that 50-foot distance where the existing utilities are. So at the time of the subdivision, that's generally when this will come up when we're looking at legal access to the properties. So if there's something that's existing on the first lot, right, which intersects with the main road, then we could, or the developer or the owner could show where that easement, that 50-foot would be to cover the existing utilities that are there. Does that answer your question?
In a way it does. So I might have that problem on my property. I have my driveway, there's a house on the left and a house on the right. The house on the left has to use my driveway to get in because the property is so narrow, they could put a driveway in his, so they use mine. On the right of it, I have a utility pole with power going in, and then I have underground with cables going in. So, I mean, who's going to would be responsible for that? Because the people that want the farm in back, they're talking, well, we're going to put a structure in the road in 50-foot and all that.
So if they have legal access to the easement, that's on, you said on the right side of the
See,
property where the power poles are?
that easement has been in effect on my property since 1951. It's never been used, so from what I read, that is done with because it's not used.
How about we talk another day, and we can talk specifically about your project or your property, and we'll need to look at whether or not that easement has been deeded or whether it's a prescriptive right of way. Because that would determine what can and can't be done in regards to the easement on your property to access somebody else's lot. Is that okay?
You do that.
Anybody else have any questions? Yes, sir.
This might be kind of, I think you may have already covered this, but say like there was a road, so you start off with a shared entrance and only had 2 lots, and then there was a third place that got built, or third and fourth, fifth place. And does that go retroactively to now that road entrance go from a shared entrance to a highway or public road? How did that, like, that's just hypothetical, but what would happen in that circumstance?
It's happened before where a shared access easement was approved as part of a subdivision for 2 lots. And then at the time where an additional lot is going to be using that easement, then the shared access easement would be superseded by the road maintenance agreement, which would be required.
So does that come y'all up with like having to go back and revisit? Or is it
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
as far as from approvals and everything on the county? Like, if you kind of have an idea that like, oh, this is two places are popping up that seem to be doing well, they're nice and it's foreseeable that it will be like, then you guys have to go back.
Potential for
and-
development.
Yeah.
So if I notice at the time of subdivision that they're proposing a shared access, but there's the ability to have further subdivisions, I'll make a recommendation that they go ahead and install, the 50-foot private road and do the private road maintenance
Yeah,
agreement at that
They
time.
start off small, then they have to go back.
Right. Right. Yeah, I can make a recommendation, but if at the time that the survey is submitted to me for approval, if it only shows 2 lots, I can't require anything more than the shared access, which they're both 50-foot wide, it's just the difference between, 2 lots or 3 lots or more.
I drove down the Carriage Road.
Carriage Hill?
Yeah, Carriage Hill. And I've seen state roads, sections were bad, but not the whole road.
Right.
But we should maybe have a list, and you probably already do, of contractors. You put a person with a road grade on that road for a couple hours, and it would change, Of course, the people got together and paid and all that.
Right.
If we had a list, it might be something at least you could give people when they call about it.
So I don't have a list currently, but I know that there are, or has been, at least one property owner that has and continues to try to fix that road, Carriage Hill Road.
Bruce Brown used to live on that road.
I'm sorry, who?
Bruce Brown,
Okay.
he was one of the best road grade operators, the county ever had for the highway department. So, I know Harold Collins and have road graders and all.
Right. So I don't have a list, but I can look at potentially getting something like that together.
Help people when they, and also help us, to at least give them somewhere.
Yes, a resource.
Resources.
Okay.
But honestly, at the end of the day, it's their responsibility. They bought a house there. They understood that they bought into a, community, we're gonna fix the road deal. It's not our responsibility, it's not the county's responsibility. At the end of the day, this is not our responsibility. Carriage Hill is not our responsibility. That's their problem to deal with. It's just like if I built a mile-long driveway and I didn't ever take care of it. It's my responsibility. So we're beating the dead horse.
Any other questions about roads and shared entrances, driveways? We do have an upcoming workshop with the board, so if there are other things that come up, we can discuss it at that time as well.
I think that might be a good idea, make sure to discuss that.
I've got one thing, it might not apply directly to this, but it's something recently come up, I've heard a few things about. It's like, when they have this many places, like Carriage Hill is a good example, there's a few other places in the county where they have shared entrances, and then they have all their mailboxes at the end of the roadway. Is there anything, where would that fall? But that, we wouldn't include that in the shared entrance, I wouldn't assume, I didn't see it in there, and I didn't read it, respond on that either, but.
What about where the mailbox placement goes? So that's up to the postal service as to where the mailboxes are going.
They had some changes with that right now, like General Assembly has applied one, the mail becomes a state problem, it's stolen. But again, there's a weird delineation, like where's the, so like if you were to go to any apartment complex or shared access building, they would have some sort of security or like a drop box instead of just open, everything making no name of the mailbox, type of thing.
Right.
I don't know if that would fall or apply to the road, but the shared entrance, kind of a lot of that, that's how they're gonna be.
So with a shared entrance, Again, that's just two properties, so it would be two mailboxes.
Well, yeah, I mean, public,
Like a private
third,
road?
if 3 or more, yeah, public.
Yeah, so private road, let's look at, one I did recently in the past couple of years, it's Maple Hills Lane. It's up Cartersville Road on the left-hand side, about halfway. That is a private road, it serves 5 lots, and, excuse me, the mailboxes are inside of the driveway, inside of the private road on the right-hand side, and they're all lined up in a row. So I would assume that that's what the U.S. Postal Service has suggested or recommended that they do.
Yeah,
But then again,
they're
it's up to-
specific, like how tall it is, how far back.
Yes,
It's-
yeah.
I don't know, you see so many different layouts throughout the county, but then if you look at their stuff, it's like this high, this far back.
Right.
I don't know, like I said, doesn't necessarily apply to this.
Private roads can be quite a bit different in the length of the road. I'm wondering on a shorter road, say a road that's 25, 30, 40 feet long, is there a maximum number of entrances that can be shared off a road like that?
Off a private road?
Yeah, in other words, they bring in a road and they have like 5 driveways going up, 10 driveways going off the different lots.
Yes, they can. So if we have, let's say we have Route 60 here, and let's say Foster Road is the private road, right? We're gonna develop this road here. That private road can only access 10 lots, so it technically would have 10 driveways coming off of that
Off on the
private road. Yes.
Okay.
What happens after it goes past 10?
Then it has to be a VDOT standard road. And so at the time of
We
the
got
subdivision.
standard,
So
we
there is-
got maintain.
So VDOT standard, but it's up to VDOT whether or not they accept it in the state road system, in the secondary system of state roads. So we
That's a good-
require that they be built to their
That's-
standard,
yeah.
and then we can request, or I say the board can request that that road be taken into the system, but ultimately it's up to VDOT as to whether they accept it or not.
So essentially, this, right here, this road right out here,
Mhm.
this is, or what has been applied for, that we're talking about. It's less than this. By length, width, and houses.
Carriage Hill? So-
No.
I'm
The
sorry.
one that was proposed on 60.
Yes,
Road.
yeah, that
So,
was 9
I mean, we're
lots.
talking about right here, behind the courthouse.
Mhm.
You're talking about Eagle Road, am I correct?
Foster.
Foster,
Yeah.
sorry. It's a loop to me.
Yeah,
But it's less than, that's more than what we're talking about. At the end of the day, as far as houses and
Mhm.
dwellings and how they're set up.
So Foster Road is and was, I guess, provided or submitted as a state maintained road, or at some point it was a private road and then the state came in and they upgraded the road and then they accepted it into the secondary
Right.
system. The subdivision that you're talking about up here is going to be a private road. It will be gravel, but it will have a 50-foot easement, and it will have utilities and phone service and everything within that 50-foot easement. So the road itself only has to be 16 feet wide from the center line of the road. The gravel has to be 16 feet wide, and then you need a 2-foot shoulder and I think a 2-foot ditch on one side or the other. So in addition,
Is your point making, we're making a mountain out of a molehill?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if that grows to that and VDOT wants to adopt it because they want to adopt it, then let them adopt it. But if somebody buys a house in there, because somebody builds it, and they buy into the homeowners association or whatever it may be, that's on them. That's not on the county. 100%. It's clear as the bell. That's my point.
anything else?
Questions, comments?
Next item I have for you on the agenda is the agritourism policy. Staff has been working on this for quite a while, and I had it on your agenda last year, and then other things had come up, so we put this one on the back burner, but I'm proud to say that it is finished. The county attorney has reviewed it, And in conjunction with the county attorney, the building official's office, staff has completed this policy. And it intends to provide direction for the residents regarding when agritourism exemptions are applicable. The policy also provides state code definitions and a list of examples of agritourism activities. And you can find that in your packet on pages 18 through 26. And on page 20, you can see the examples that were provided as to what constitutes an agritourism activity and what does not constitute an agritourism activity. So now that this policy is enacted, when somebody has a property owner or a developer wants to have an event on their property, if they claim that it is an agritourism activity and therefore does not require a conditional use permit, then they would fill out these two exhibits that are attached to the policy, and that would allow us to determine whether it does qualify for that exemption of agritourism. Yes, sir.
Under participant, it says means any person other than agritourism professional. What's an agritourism professional?
Any person who is engaged in the business of providing one or more agritourism activities, whether or not for compensation. That's on page 18.
So then, who are we talking about in the participant? I mean, I'm confused.
Participants
Yeah,
would be people that come onto the farm or the property to participate in whatever event or.
Oh, I get it.
Yes.
Okay, I thought this was to give guidance to a participant who wants to open up their facility, and I'm like, well, I don't understand. Got it.
Does anybody have any questions, concerns?
Does someone wanting to do this type of activity on their property need to get a business license?
Generally speaking, they should have a business license. If they are a bona fide farm, they generally already have that, but I would refer them to.
When you say modified farm, you mean someone who's doing this type of activity? That's what makes it a modified farm.
So they would have to be a farm, right, or have some sort of agricultural business or activities already on their property in order for any event that they have to be considered an agritourism activity. So when somebody calls and says, hey, I want to rent out my barn in the back of my property, is that considered agritourism? Is it exempt from state codes? Or do we need a conditional use permit for an event facility? So at that point, they would come in and fill out the exhibits attached to the policy, and that would allow us to determine whether or not it constitutes an agritourism activity.
Yeah, I think we're going to have some shady areas in there where what I'm starting to see in the county is landowners that have horses, as I do, and they're advertising their properties as overnight stays with people traveling with animals. Is that an Airbnb? I mean, they're there, or is it agritourism?
So, and that's why we have the definition. So any activity that's carried out on a farm or ranch that allows members of the general public to come out and observe can be considered an agritourism activity. But we have the definition for a farm, it's one or more acres of land used for the production, cultivation, growing, harvesting, or processing of agricultural products. So just because, let's say I own 2 horses, that doesn't make me a bona fide farm.
Right.
So then if I wanted to come put up a second dwelling on my property and have people come and stay, that would not constitute an agritourism activity. Now, they could still have that listed as a short-term rental. That's fine, but the use would not be exempt from state codes as an agritourism activity.
So what would make it one?
Whether-
If someone has, someone spending 1 or 2 nights on their property with animals because they're traveling, they're staying either in a home or a trailer. And I have no problem with any of those things, I'm just trying to figure out how it gets defined. So what makes it agritourism?
So the property owner, the owner of the property who's offering this structure for rent or, staying overnight, that property has to be considered a farm. that has bona fide agricultural practices, cultivation, growing, harvesting, or processing of agricultural products.
Okay.
Now, are we going to use the same definition as tax uses as far as, reduce, I think, $1,500 worth of product a year or something?
Schedule F,
We don't, I'm sorry,
Schedule F.
Schedule F. I don't get into how much they make or, I'm going by state code. So when they come in to look at whether or not their activity is exempt under agritourism, this is what we're gonna go by. I don't look at their income. The commissioner's office may do that when they're trying to get a business license or something. I mean, they would look at potential income. But as far as the planning department is concerned, that doesn't have anything to do with the use or the exemption as agritourism. Yes, sir.
So I got a couple of questions. First of all, remind me, I remember this being an issue, but remind me why this is an issue. I mean, why do we need this?
This sets a clear policy for those who are interested as to what is considered an agritourism activity. We get calls all the time. If somebody wants to have a party on their farm and it's exempt, or if they want to throw a concert on their
Okay,
farm.
now, when you say exempt, so why can't a farm have a farm maze?
Have a, I'm sorry, a farm.
A corn maze,
So they can, that's considered an agritourism activity.
right. So I'm trying to figure out why this is necessary.
Because there is no definition in our ordinance where it pertains to agritourism and what qualifies as an agritourism exemption. What types of uses?
So how does it benefit them if they qualify as that versus a farm? Just,
So if they-
that's,
And
is it a
agricultural,
tax thing?
so
or-
yeah, when you say agricultural exemption,
Correct, from the state code. So agricultural exemptions in the state code mainly come from like building inspections, where agritourism or farm structures aren't required to meet the building code.
right.
So there's one clear definition as to, okay, is this an agricultural building, or is it a residential building that's being built on an agriculturally zoned property? So the intent of this was to provide clarity, and to provide direction and information to the public, because we've had so many people call and question, what is agritourism? What does that mean? What can I do? Let's say Spruceberry Farm. If his property or if his structure, the barn and all the activities that he has, if they were not on a working farm, then it would not have been considered an agritourism activity. The farm structure wouldn't have been considered an agricultural building. They would have had to get building permits, follow all the inspections. There could have been a commercial code that was utilized for the building inspections for that structure because of the use.
One thing too, by adopting this, under state code, there are liability exemptions given to agritourism. However, for an applicant to receive those exemptions, the locality has to adopt an agritourism ordinance to extend the state benefits to local people. And that goes back to the signage that's posted, that anybody participating in an agritourism event agrees that they are assuming the liability, not the property owner. We had something come up several years ago in which somebody tried to pass off event barn, number one, as an agricultural activity. Then they said no, they tried to say it was going to be an agricultural barn. But that didn't thrive upon inspection of the building inspector and a few members of the planning commission, board of supervisors. They then tried to pass it off as an agritourism event facility. At that time, we didn't have any agritourism thing. They could host agritourism events, but they then would be liable for anything that happened, whereas under the state code, if they are a bona fide agritourism event participant, and the county has the agritourism ordinance, which mimics the state code as far as signage and all, then the liability falls upon the person that's participating, not upon the person hosting. So this is, in my opinion, this is just a second layer of protection for our citizens.
And I just want to clarify, this is an internal policy, so this is something that the planning department has assessed and we have put into effect. This is not an ordinance. I'm not asking for any action from the commission or the board of supervisors. Again, this is just an internal policy that we have. But I think Mr. Stamey had some comments that he wanted to add as well.
Sure, just in listening to the questions, just wanted to throw out a couple of positives related to the policy, and Ms. Johnson's correct. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, one of the benefits of this is we're actually benefiting folks that want to go into agritourism and provide that for the public. Now, one of the things you've probably heard about in the last 6 months or so is the Economic Development Strategic Plan that we've been working on with a consultant that was grant funded through VDAX and the Tobacco Commission. And one of the primary focuses of that plan is to maintain the rural character of the county while providing for economic development opportunities. And this agritourism policy does just that. So I just wanted to say that. So.
Is there anybody that's grandfathered in on this?
Yes, and all of the structures or events that are already in effect now do not have to come in and apply for any type of permits or anything like that. This is just going from June 30 this year going forward. Yes, sir.
So, under agritourism activities, it says the following are examples.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming by that, that's not a restricted list, right?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
And then under agritourism event, an agritourism location shall obtain an event permit for large events on site. What does that mean?
So we have an event permit or a festival permit, and we have a festival ordinance. If they're expected to have an event that lasts more than one day or have more than, let's say, 250 people, then that's considered a large festival, and then we have an application for a smaller festival. That's just so that the county is aware of these events going on, and we can make sure that the health department has what they need. If there's any permits that are required through the health department, emergency services can be on standby. We make sure that the event has, provides sanitation, traffic control if need be. The sheriff's office will be notified, that sort of thing.
Okay, my final question, I think, is I have a friend who has a farm in Cumberland County, and they have for many years had multiple barn dances on their farm. How does this affect that?
It doesn't. That would be considered an agritourism activity or an agricultural activity. Now, if they have more than 250 people at this barn dance, then they should have been getting a festival permit through the county. But it doesn't affect them any different now than it did before this policy was effective.
So if they do a fall festival, it includes a barn dance, and you have people coming and going throughout the day, more than 250, then that would be considered a festival.
So what I would say is I would have them come in and look at the agritourism declarations, these exhibits that we have attached, because that would provide us the information that we need to determine whether it's considered an agritourism activity and whether there's any potential negative impacts from the activity that the county would need to step in and regulate.
And this is all based on the fact, if they are in fact considered a farm.
Correct.
If they're not considered a farm, if they're not doing any of these items, then they don't have to worry about anything
It
else.
doesn't matter.
Well, I mean,
I think this is great.
they,
And I think a lot of these
my,
things are covered in this agricultural activity factor considerations, page 24, 25.
the thing that concerns me was what Ms. Johnson said, kind of as her last sentence, talking about coming in and taking a look and seeing what they're doing in case there's anything we need to regulate.
If there's any negative impacts to the adjoining property owners, that does give the county authority to regulate, and that may not be the right word for it, but to make sure that the negative impacts will not affect, or potential negative impacts won't affect the health, safety, and welfare of the community. That's
And
what
is
it
there
boils
any
down to.
cost, there's no cost associated with this, there's no fine, there's nothing that I saw. So, I mean,
I don't see this as being restricted at all.
move along,
Yeah, I think it's great.
do what you've been
And I
doing.
think it probably gives the county a layer of
Protection.
order of protection to what's going on, what's not.
Right, and when people
I think
do
it
come
benefits
in,
everybody.
I'm sorry?
I think it benefits everybody on both sides of it.
That's the intent, and I think when the applicants do come in and they submit these exhibits, then the county is aware of, or my office is aware of different events and different things that are going on in the county. So when I do get calls of neighbors complaining about loud noise on the farm next door, I can say, well, that's an agritourism event. It is exempt from the county's requirement for a conditional use permit. You know, they have let us know what's going on, and therefore we can kind of negate issues before they become issues.
Here's a safety trivia. Farming is usually the top 3 of the most dangerous occupations in the country. And yet, there are more deaths on farms today in recreational activities than in actual farming activities. So from hunting to fishing to swimming to horseback riding, whatever, there are more deaths in recreational activities on the farm. So anything that helps out as far as safety, I guess, is good. Or reliability.
Any questions, comments? Okay.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is rezoning application 2501, Valco Investments. This is the proposed Dollar General or DG Market at the corner of Blenheim Road and Route 60. Planning Commission had their public hearing and made a recommendation to the board for approval with the reduced parking spaces and the proffers that were provided. The Board of Supervisors held their public hearing July 8th. And one board member voiced concerns with the application, and the board referred that back to the Planning Commission. There were no formal instructions given by the board. However, that one board member did provide their comments. The acting chairman provided the items of concern such as safety and traffic. The applicant has submitted a request to you this evening to defer the application. Staff will meet with the applicant this week, and we can keep the commission up to date on the ongoing discussions. So we do have written direction or written concerns from one of the board members, but if the commission has additional concerns that maybe were not addressed during your public hearing, please let me know, and we can send that to the applicant as well.
Anybody?
I think the biggest concern is just, the fact that property wasn't posted, and that was one of the biggest concerns, and of course, that's been met now. And the traffic concerns that were raised, VDOT has signed off on it, and they have addressed the traffic concerns in their engineering studies and such, and they don't deem the impact of this storm being detrimental to traffic on Brenham Road or on Route 60. So I think that question has been answered by VDOT. both to us and I'm assuming to the board too. I think Mr. Locklear spoke with one of the board members who conveyed the impact on traffic to the rest of the board members. I don't know what more, I know they requested a meeting with the EDA. The board wanted the EDA involved to see if it was another location along that eastern Route 60 corridor that might be available. However, I'm unaware of anything. I know a few years ago we did approve a Indian bakery for that same area, but subsequently the property owners decided not to pursue it out this far and went to Henrico County where they're operating now. And if I'm not mistaken, that property has been sold for residential use.
No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
It is still zoned B1 business. As far as I'm aware, again, the same property owners still own the property
They do,
now.
okay. I'm
Yes.
mistaken then. I heard it had been sold for possible residential use.
Not that I've
Okay.
been in touch. Also, I would like to say that when the applicants first came to the department to discuss a potential retail space, I had informed them that the property across the street was already zoned business and that they should try to look there instead of having to rezone another parcel. They did reach out to that property owner and they were not willing to sell the entire parcel or even subdivide a piece off to sell to them. So they did look at, another existing business zoned property prior to submitting this application. But again, staff is going to meet with, the county administrator and myself are going to meet with the applicants this week, go over all of the questions and concerns from the board members, and anything that you guys might have as well.
So once you do that, are we going to set another public hearing, or are we just going to have a workshop with that? How's that going to go?
So the only thing that's required at this point is an action on behalf, on the planning commission side to the board. You've already recommended approval, they've sent it back to you. The applicant has asked for a deferral tonight. So technically that would go to your August 18th planning commission meeting. Your next regular meeting, this will be on the agenda again for action. I'll have to get with the county attorney and see exactly what that would be in terms of making potentially a second recommendation, if it's different than what you have already submitted to the board.
So the applicant will come in August and tell us
Yes.
what they've done in regards to the questions that were raised.
Yes, I've submitted those questions that were raised to the applicant. I got them this morning and sent them to them this morning as well as you guys. So obviously there was not enough time for them to address all of those concerns adequately in order to be here tonight. So that's why they asked for the deferral.
So
the workshop on the 11th of August, could we potentially put this on that agenda for discussion
Yes.
with the board members, and we can get their input directly what they wanted?
Prior
I
to
think
the
that would
next
be a
meeting.
very good idea, since we don't really know.
I've not been on quite as long as you, but I've been on this commission a long time. I've never had something sent back from Board of Supervisors to them. Can't they make a decision?
With no real direction.
I mean, what's the deal?
It's a little unusual because normally
They don't like our
submit
decision? Do something
concerns to us. I think the biggest concern was they just didn't want to appear to rubber stamp something.
Then they can, they made decisions contrary to what we recommended before, they could do that again. I just don't get it. It's like they're telling us we made the wrong decision, look at it again, make the right decision. That's kind of what they're saying.
Well, I think one thing too, in the Dollar General that's located on 45 South, when they first approached the commission about that, they had a site picked out that probably could not have been any worse unless they built it on school property. And it was Public hearing was held and everything. Planning commission rejected it and sent it to the board, and the board rejected it. The planning commission in that case recommended a site that we felt was better for the store, the traffic volume. VDOT also agreed with us. VDOT did not like the first site that they came to us with. And subsequently, when they were able to negotiate a purchase of the property, came back with their proposal, we approved it, sent it to the board, and the board approved it the next month. I think the biggest thing is the board's just concerned, is this the best price for it? You know, it used to be a store within a half a mile of there until it closed maybe 10, 12 years ago. Just across the street from it, where they just put a home, used to be a old-fashioned country store, whatever you want to call it. That, I think, closed in their early to mid-70s.
That was, what, a mile and a half, 2 miles from here?
No, it's,
I mean, how far is it?
it's about
What is the location?
7 to 8 miles, I would say,
From here?
from here, because Marion's Trucking is 6 miles from here, and it's a couple miles past Marion's. I mean, I don't see where it's going to have an impact on any of the existing stores or anything.
I wouldn't worry about that, I wouldn't worry about the traffic. But you got one on 45. 5 minutes. 6 minutes. One here, then you're gonna have another one 60 minutes down, 60. So if they wanted to look somewhere, in my, now, if they're right, what they've done, and they are right, I'm fine with it. But why wouldn't you look like towards Cartersville, somewhere in that area that has absolutely nothing?
I believe the reason for that, it's very similar. You know, my background is in restaurants. And if I had a restaurant at this location, and I'm doing all the business, I know there's people over here that aren't coming there. But if I put a restaurant there, it's going to cannibalize a little bit of this restaurant. But who cares? I'm getting the business anyway. So I think that's what they're thinking. They'll put it there. If they lose some business out of a location here, they're gaining other business, and they're still keeping it within their Dollar General family.
Well, I
And
think,
that's perfect, but it doesn't suit the county.
I think one thing too, that they're probably looking at, when they did that study, they're looking at the population within, say, a 3-mile radius of that. They're looking at the population too in Western Powhatan.
You drive by
growing,
traffic.
and that they can pull in, whereas if they located, using Cartersville for an example, the population there now and the traffic along 45 is not the same amount of numbers that they're going to generate on Route 60 or in that eastern end of Cumberland.
I don't think it's our job to determine whether or not businesses have made the right decision with location.
Right.
I think our job may be location in terms of, is it impacting neighbors? But it's not our job to determine whether or not a store is going to be profitable.
And I would agree, that was my personal conclusion. Like I said, what they have on paper, I agree. There's something I can do about it.
I mean, I think a discussion jointly between the commission and the board is where we really need to go, because the points that were raised, I mean, most of them that I read were answered in the presentation. They were answered by the correspondence with VDOT. The only thing that I saw, and this was something that we discussed, was that the notice of the property being posted was not done.
Let me clarify, I'm sorry.
Pardon?
I just want to clarify, The notice was done.
The notice was done, the property
The metal
wasn't posted,
signs,
the
right,
sign
the
wasn't.
metal sign saying that there's a pending application had not been put up yet. And that is not a requirement, that is just something extra that we do. And they are correct, it was not done the first go-round, and that was my mistake, that was my fault, but that has been fixed.
And, you know, it's no reflection on you, it's just one of those things that's not required, it was just done as a courtesy in most instances. State code doesn't require it.
Well, I think putting it on the agenda for the joint workshop is a great.
So on the workshop agenda is discussion and then set for action by the planning commission in August 18th.
I have a question.
Yes,
I'm just looking at page 41 in our packet, it's about the traffic navigation impact determination. So like, I mean, this is good because it says there will be one required at the time of the site plan.
yes.
Then also at the top it says the location, the intersection of Anderson and Lennon. Then it's saying the access location. So is it saying that the traffic on Lennon is what's going to be okay? Because like some of the other members mentioned, I would imagine there's going to be a lot of westbound traffic making a left-hand turn into that Lennon Road and then enters that place. So if they were to do this looking at Route 60, would it be traffic analysis or? What are they
So,
saying with this? Because it doesn't make sense. It's just one page out of 5.
so the access location on Blenheim as presented is modified. So originally, the access location to the property was closer to the actual intersection of 60 and Blenheim. But after working with VDOT on this, they actually moved the access location farther south down Blenheim.
But if they
Then,
hadn't moved it further south, would they have needed to do it? Because it's kind of like they just moved the entrance down Glen a little further.
they did that at the
Say,
request
it's
of VDOT.
Yeah.
They
Well,
did that at
right,
the-
VDOT said that's fine because it's now a little bit further down. You're still gonna have all these
It's
people
less than
making a
that.
left-hand turn on a westbound lane.
Right.
So then you're gonna have like a line of cars backed up in the westbound lane. The
So-
fourth or fifth car is not gonna know what the heck is going on. They're gonna go past the guys turning left in the Dollar General, cream them, and then you're gonna have lanes closed for how long on Route 60? So is that why they're not doing it? Because they're downsizing Leavenworth Road and not Route 60? Because they moved it down a little bit?
I don't think that's the case, and I'll read an email that I had from Brian Locker, who sent this the day after the last board meeting, and it's follow-up for clarification. As provided in that application on page 41, a formal traffic impact statement and analysis in accordance with the noted regulations is not required. The threshold for an analysis is pursuant to, the threshold for an analysis pursuant to that code section are 1, a development generating more than 5,000 vehicles per day at the site's roadway connection, or 2, a residential development generating more than 400 vehicles per day and doubling the traffic of the receiving roadway. The proposed Dollar General does not meet either of those thresholds. During the site plan review, the applicant will be required to ensure safe passage of vehicles at the proposed access location on Blenheim through the submission of a turn lane analysis and verification of truck turning movements. The intersection of Route 60 and Blenheim is considered off-site, therefore VDOT does not have the authority to require an analysis of the intersection.
We're rezoning a lot that touches, I mean, it goes up against Route 60 just as much as it goes up against Glen, right?
Right.
So I would not consider that off-site just because they moved the entrance, the proposed entrance down a little bit. And then once they get to the site, which it says they'll need a traffic study, on the site plan. So is it just do I just have this hang up because it's like I'm in a procedural error? We're not got that far along yet, or?
So, yes, I think is the correct answer. This
I think that's
will
a
be
lot of
further
this. We're trying to get
reviewed
that.
by VDOT, yes, at the time of the site plan review. And the site plan will not be approved without VDOT's endorsement of that plan.
We don't have, we've just got a preliminary site plan. We don't have a proposed site or final site plan for the project. And VDOT will look at the final site plan,
That's what I was saying at first, because I think I
Yes.
might have just been getting
sign off
cart
on
before
it.
the horse. Because reading that, it says, it says it will be required at the time.
Yeah.
later on, after, like at the beginning, so it's not required.
Correct. So when we have the initial,
That
app-
alleviates that a little bit.
I'm
That
sorry.
alleviates that a little bit
Yes.
from what I was thinking. This is still very preliminary reason.
A preliminary site plan is required by code to accompany rezoning and conditional use permits. And that will change. That's why it's preliminary. Once the action, or the board has taken action on that development, at that point, then they can go into the final site plan submission, which would have more environmental information, more detailed vehicle information or access from VDOT, Health Department, things of that sort.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Next item we have is new business, Board of Supervisors update. Unfortunately, Mr. Simpson is not here with us this evening. I do not have a planning department monthly report for you this month, but I will have both June and July for you next month. Building inspections monthly report can be found on pages 45 through 46 of your board packet. And that is all I have for you for old business.
Okay. I think, do we have some general citizens comments this evening?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, we still have some new business to go over.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Under new business, we do have just one item, the grant submission for a small area plan. With the assistance of the CRC, the Commonwealth Regional Council, the county applied for a $25,000 grant for a small area plan. The grant will require matching funds if approved, and we are actively applying to the Tobacco Commission for a grant to use as that matching or leveraging funds to bring that total grant amount to $50,000. The small area plan grant would cover the courthouse village, which is identified as an area of focus by the commission and the board during your workshop in May. Just a little update for you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Gina Martin, if you could state your address, please, your name. Thank you.
Gina Martin, 518 Cartersville Road. On the res 25-01 from Dollar General, John Newman did bring up a lot of points that are concerned. One was site plans, just a lot of variables that he didn't understand. They just weren't clear to him as to what these people were really proposing. But he never gave them a chance to do their presentation either. So I don't know if that would answer the questions. This location's bad. It really is. I don't know many people that would or want to drive from Powhatan to this location just to go to a Dollar General. They like going the other way, where other businesses are. I don't understand the need. I mean, I know it sounds like you don't care that this store, this company just wants to just put Dollar Generals everywhere. But to me, it can become an eyesore. It could, like I said, the lack of business, I think, could draw away from one to the other. Just the reason we don't get a food line here. They don't want to draw away from Dillon and have two low-functioning stores. Why this road? I mean, that's a bad location. That's also where the dump entrance is supposed to be, within half a mile of it, maybe a quarter mile of it. Delivery trucks. They even talked about how hard it's going to be for them to back into this off of Bloom Road. A flatter lot, you know, just a better access all the way around. Bloom Road's not very wide. Those trucks are going to really have trouble, and if people try to turn, it's going to block everything. Westbound traffic, like you said, it's got to turn left. How are they going to do that? Everything's just going to kind of back up. So that's the concerns I have on that. I don't understand why this company just thinks it has to be right there. Like I said, find a better location. The CUP 2401 with Green Ridge revisions, they have now done their final draft. I don't know if there's going to be any future negotiations or anything, but I question why this isn't coming back to the Planning Commission. because the planning commission denied the permission because there were so many unknown variables. There were still negotiations going on. Well, now these negotiations supposedly has a final draft. Why does the planning commission not have to review that? That's it.
Thank you very much. Betty Myers? Please state your address, would be great, thank you.
I'm Betty Myers, I live at 577 Deep Run Road, in District 1. I have to agree with Gina on what she said, because I listened to all this discussion about the traffic and so on, this Dollar General store. And I, for one, travel about 60 and go out on about 60 from Pine Grove Road and so on. And if we start putting 75 landfill trucks, plus the other traffic going into the Dollar General, it's going to be a massive mess for local residents, a massive mess. We're never going to get out on Route 60 from that road, and from Pine Grove Road even. And where else can we go? Whenever there's an accident on Route 60, you have to go all the way around that way to get around it. And that's not fair to the citizens, and those detours, whenever you do take them, oftentimes aren't very well established at all. So I would like you to take into consideration that, because this entrance that they want to use for this is very, very, very close to the property that's owned by the landfill. As far as the Dollar General goes, it's no better than just a slight bit better than the landfill. They put a lot of Dollar General stores up in underserved areas, and they do that on purpose. And we've got a grocery store coming in right now, and hopefully it's going to meet the needs of the residents of this county and be a really true grocery store and not be overpriced. And so I think you really need to look at those things. And we have to give that grocery store a chance to be a viable item, because the citizens have wanted that. I've lived here for 8, 9 years now, and it's the one thing that we constantly hear from the citizens. We need a grocery store. So I think you have to look beyond different things here. And just because VDOT says it's okay, guess what, folks? You can vote against that. You're the ones that's responsible for what's good for this county. VDOT can give you their opinion, but it's not the final say. It's you all that have the final say. You all and the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to fellow commissioner comments, questions, anything, anybody?
This is kind of something I had notes written down from last time we were talking about this subdivision thing. And I don't know if this is an appropriate place, but some things I thought would be interesting to add to it is like, I don't know what the term would be, if it would be incorporated into like the deed or the agreement or whatever. Like, I think it'd be interesting to explore them agreeing upon some sort of quiet hours, so they have something on their own outside of the county board's ordinance, so they're not going to have a neighbor back and forth and calling on the other neighbor that they get a car or whatever. And then something to do with leash laws. So if they're going to have, maybe not laws, not the right thing, some sort of lease agreement or pet agreement. So if you're going to have houses like the one we looked at the last meeting where there's 9 lots all within a couple acres of each other. Well, if you're going to have 9 lots, that's great. That can be very nice. But then if you're going to have like every person there wants to have a little chicken coop or have 5 dogs roaming around, there's going to be some problem there. There's going to overburden the county's animal control that's already got their hands full of doing a great job at it. It's been notified in the last month by the county, which was nice to see. But I could see that being like a little ounce of prevention rather than a cure if they were agreed upon the board. And then them having some sort of like uniform 911 markers for each house. Like there's so many in the county where you go out to, like Carriage is a good example. We keep going back to that because it's kind of a little case study of what not to do, I think. But you go down the road, and someplace a newer one might have a nice marked address, but then some of the older ones might not be so great, or they're all just mailboxes at the end of the road, nobody knows where anybody else is going. problems for people who live there with packages, routine, day-to-day life stuff like that, but also like if they ever need adjustments to fire. Maybe not the fire department, because that should be pretty obvious if there was a fire there, but that would be something I would like to see explored with, like, at least with a major subdivision. Because I think that the one that's proposed and we looked at, I think there's a lot of benefit there to the county because you don't have 9 different driveways all pulling on Route 60. You have one shared entrance and exit, and that's safer and better. If it's done well, it is. Those are some things I don't know if that makes any sense.
Okay. No one else? Did we get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn until 11 August 2025 at the Luther P. Jackson Adult Education Center.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Matt Seal,
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Kevin Meadows,
Yes.
Mr. Hubert Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Steve Rosen,
Yes.
Mr. Harry Donahue,
Yeah.
Mr. William Flippin.
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned.